We're just continuing with the halachot of Shabbat. We're on Siman Resh Mem Chet, where it's speaking about not traveling on a boat on Shabbat. So this many times could happen with cruises. There are many different machlokot in the Rishonim. What's the exact isur? According to a lot of them, it's because of the isur of becoming seasick, and obviously you're going to be mivatel the mitzvah of oneg of Shabbat. But one of the isurim also is called the isur of tchumin. What does it mean isur of tchumin? You have a tchum of Shabbat, and if I acquire that I'm going to be in a certain place on Shabbat, I cannot come afterwards and start changing that from one place to another. So according to that, we're going to go to what's called a train or what's called a plane. So it's actually brought down that you're not allowed to travel by train from one city to another city, even if you left on Erev Shabbat and the train belongs to Goyim and it's going for Goyim, and anyway it's traveling because of the Goyim, and you're not basically doing anything. The only thing that you did was you went on the train Erev Shabbat, and now it's just traveling and traveling and traveling on Shabbat, right? You're not allowed to do so. And all the more so if you actually went in on Shabbat, that you're not allowed to actually do so as well. There you have the Yisur of Tchumin, you have the Yisur of also of Ziluta de Shabbat and other problems as well. So this is that even though technically speaking, you paid for everything, you did everything before, you put all your things down, you're just sitting down in a train and the train is just traveling on its own, it's still going to be prohibited. Now, what happens now to do with a plane? What does that mean? Obviously, we know, and we've spoken about that you're not allowed to travel much before Shabbat. You always have to travel on Erev Shabbat in order that you would always be to your destination on time for Shabbat, plus that you have food for the Shabbat, which means that you cannot just come stam and start traveling on Erev Shabbat. But once in a while it does happen that you get onto a plane and all of a sudden, right, the plane doesn't take off and now you're on the plane. Right, I remember receiving a phone call like this, that the person was actually on the plane. It's not like he was in the terminal and now he has to make a decision, should he still fly, not fly, he'll get there right a few minutes before Shabbat, not before Shabbat. No, he's on the plane and the plane is just waiting 1 hour, 2 hours, and finally they say, okay, fine, we're going to take off. Now they didn't let anybody, right, Erev Shabbat, and they're going to be traveling on Shabbat. But what happens if they did do a be'eter? Which means that they went and it was early enough, and then there was going to be some ikuvim, as they say, and all of a sudden now they're on the plane and it arrives at their destination on Shabbat. So what happens now? So in such a case, he comes and he says, if right now there was a certain reason that it actually came, right, he comes and he says, basically when they throw him off the plane and he's going to go into the terminals, he's not allowed to leave the building of the terminals. And even if because of this, he's going to be Mvatel Mitzvah, Kiddush Shabbat, Seudat Shabbat, Tfilah B'tzibur, Kriyat Torah, other mitzvot of Shabbat, it doesn't matter. Why? Because of the mitzvah of Tchumin, that he came and this was his Tchum, that now he cannot go out of that Tchum. So what happens is he loses out, and now all of a sudden he's not allowed to travel on Shabbat. He's not allowed to leave the building. So therefore he would basically have to stay at the airport, in the airport terminal. He can't even go from one building to another building. If he has to be in the same building as the terminals, he's not allowed to leave, even though he's going to be mvatel from the mitzvot of Oneg Shabbat and all the other mitzvot as well. He's not allowed to do anything.